In a water-sensitive urban design, it's not unusual to divert water from the road into some sort of swale drain or retention system to treat the water before moving downstream. And one way to do that is to create what's called a curb washout, where you fold the curb down and divert the water into some sort of catchment that you've created. So we have a cross section here with a curb, and we also have a table drain sitting at the back. And let's assume we've designed that table drain with the elevations we're looking for. And what we really want to do is to lay this curb down so that the water diverts into from the curb invert down into the table drain. And the way we would do that is by changing the crossfall of the codes behind it. This could all be achieved with standard variations. However, we have created a custom variation to automate this process. If we have a look at variations and custom variations, we've added one in the task-based variations called Kerb Washout. If you do not see this, just click on Download Scripts and we'll download and add this to your list. What this variation does is very similar to a Kerb Layback. You start by specifying a start chainage and an end chainage. Really, the end chainage just needs to be beyond where you want this variation to finish, because what you're doing is you're picking the back of curb to control. You're picking the curb height you'd like for the back, and also the back curb width. The top of curb will basically sit on the invert code. And you get to transition to a washout. You have a washout length and then an end transition out. What I guess differentiates this from the custom variation of Kerb Layback is the option for what happens behind the washout. So there's an option here to regrade multiple codes. The idea of this is that you specify an outer code that you're trying to get to. So we have a code here called verge, and you can then choose what happens to the crossfalls of all the codes leading to that code that you've picked. So I'd like to specify the slope outwards from the back of curb to that code, and I'd like that slope to be -2%. So once I do this and click on Add Update, we will see that where the washout is in play, that we actually have this behavior happening at 2%, constant crossfall, all the way to where the table drain is. Now, what I didn't do was control the table drain. So if we just go recalculate here and rebuild models, and then have a look in Model Viewer, what we'll see is that we have the curb washout here, so we're falling down into the table drain, but we've got a dip in that table drain. If I go back to the custom variation, I say hold next outer code, then it will reinstate the invert of the table drain to the elevation it was before the variation applied. So you see that that crossfall's adjusted. If I just hit the rebuild models option here to update the model and then refresh, we'll see that the table drain continues on the grade that it had, but you are diverting the water away into that drain. So that's one scenario for dealing with curb washouts. You'll also see that you don't have to set the slope. You could set an absolute elevation for that outer code. So you might decide that that outer code should be at 38.8. So we could specify elevation hold offsets. We say 38.8, update, and that code is now sitting at 38.8, and the crossfalls adjust accordingly. You are holding offsets, so you will see that the alignment of that footpath is not changing. It's maintaining its original offsets. If you didn't want to do that, you could go for specify slope or specify level, and then it would maintain the width. And so the footpath and other codes behind the back of curb would move out with the back of curb adjustment. We have a look at an alternate use of the curb washout command. We could use this for a driveway layback, but with different controls, where we're maintaining the property boundary code and we're looking for a continuous grade from a property boundary code right to the back of curb. So let's add the curb washout variation, but we'll change the behavior. So firstly, what we'll do is we'll just set the curb height and the curb width to match with the layback. We'll set up for a 6-meter driveway, and the big change is right here. So we're going to pick the property boundary to connect to, which is already sitting on the surface. But we're going to say, let's keep the property boundary position where it is and regrade from there to the back of curb. And that's what the hold offset and level will do. So once we click on add update, what we will see is that we now have a constant grade maintaining the property boundary all the way to that back of curb.